Hi, and welcome to Desert Lady Diaries podcast, a weekly conversation with women who found their home in the Mojave Desert. I'm your host, Dawn Davis, and this is episode number 5. If you're a first-time listener, welcome, and if you're a returning listener, thanks for coming back. You can find us on the web at desertladydiaries.com, and you can call us with questions, comments, or compliments at area code 760-392-1293. And please remember to speak slowly and clearly. Your question might make it on the podcast. Today, I'm talking with Cooper Gillespie, an actor, writer, and musician who moved to the Mojave Desert about a year and a half ago with her husband, Greg, and their band, the Ultraviolet Rays. Stick around for some music from them at the end of the podcast. Hi there, and welcome back to Desert Lady Diaries. Today, we're interviewing Cooper Gillespie. She's a musician, writer, and actress. She's acted in numerous films, TV shows, and plays, and her music has been featured on shows like Grey's Anatomy and NBC's Sunday Night Football. Woo! I love football. Most days, she can be found playing down-tempo electronic music from outer space with her band, Ultraviolet Rays. She is currently writing a memoir of her life in rock and roll. Welcome, Cooper Gillespie. And she wouldn't tell you this, but I will. She's been nominated for several Desert Theater League awards for her acting in Grounded, which was a stage reading that was done at the High Desert Cultural Center. But there was wasn't there another nomination?
Actress in a drama for Goldfish Letters.
Goldfish Letters, right, exactly.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah, it is. I was like, wow, we're in good company.
Yeah.
Let's start like we always do. Okay. Tell me how long you've been a permanent resident of the desert.
Let's see. I moved here, it was a year ago in March, so a little over a year.
Okay.
Almost a year and a half.
Awesome. And what was your first encounter with the desert?
Yeah, so Greg and I used to be in a band called Mad Planet, and the producer for our band is a man named Ethan Allen, who is the guitar player in a band called Graham Rabbit.
Oh, okay.
Who's a Joshua Tree band, but he lives in Silver Lake, and he's a great producer. He produces all sorts of people. Anyway, so we were going to make a record, and he recommended that we come out here to do it. So we came out here for, I think it was like a week or so, and we stayed at Hicksville, which is, they call it Hicksville Trailer Palace. It's a cool place to stay out here.
And if you give away the GPS coordinates, yes, you are never invited back.
I know. I don't know how much to say about it, so I'm just going to leave it at that because I want to go back sometime. So we recorded that record there, and it's my favorite record I've ever made, and I think the vibe of the desert just comes through so much, and we just had a great time, and so that was our first experience with the desert, and then it just all happened from there.
So what was it about that visit that you thought, wow, we need to come here?
Well, at that point, we didn't really think that we needed to come here. We just knew that we had a really magical experience and we wanted to come back. And so we continued to come out to visit, and then there was one visit in particular in 2014. We came out to Pappy and Harrietts to see the Pixies play, and we rented an Airbnb. It was just this beautiful mid-century Airbnb, and we found out the woman got the place for like $40,000 with like some HUD, rural loan. I don't know. Anyway, and it's like this awesome place, and we were like, huh? What? And that got our juices flowing, just thinking about, wow, like, we could probably live out here and spend a lot more time doing the things we want to do creatively if we were here. And we already know there's sort of this really sort of intense creative vibe out here. And so at that point, that was pretty much the point when we were like, you know what, maybe we should move here. And as soon as we sort of put that out into the universe, it felt like the whole universe just aligned to make that happen. I mean, some stuff happened that was, actually kind of scary, like we lost our jobs and things like that. But it all ended up being the best thing because it got us here, basically. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
A lot of stories like that of people coming out here. So from the time that all of that started happening till when you arrived permanently, what was the time?
It took about a year, I'd say. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was about a year from when we came out to see the Pixies to, I guess we live here now.
Yeah. Wow. And when you came out, did you immediately buy or did you rent and kind of
that's
get the lay of the land?
Story.
Okay.
So once we actually decided to leave, so we put our house on the market in November, our house in Hollywood, and it sold in January. We had a tour planned from the end of January to March, right before we left on tour, we came out here and looked at some places, and we found our house and fell in love with it. And so we made an offer. So the house closed while we were on tour, and then we were like in Arkansas, and we had to be in Texas, but we had a couple days off. So we drove all the way back to Joshua Tree to like stay at our house for one night and like, you know, switch things over with the old owner. And then we drove back to Texas to like play our show in Texas. It was crazy.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but I just remember being like, we were so tired. We hadn't slept. We were just like driving all, you know, I think it took us like 30 something hours to get here or something. And we were just so excited to see our new house. Yeah.
Of course, yeah. And now you've been working on that house.
Oh, yeah.
And now you're doing, Airbnb. Is that right? Okay, great.
I think a lot of people do that out here. Our property is pretty special. It's we have 15 acres, and there's different sort of houses and structures on it. And so we've been fixing them each up slowly but surely. It takes a lot of money and a lot of time, but we work a little and then we make some money and then we spend it all on those places.
Right.
But they're cool where it's kind of, it's sort of like a creative rock and roll hideaway, I guess.
When you've got some theme
there's some themes.
Or something.
Yeah. There's like a rock and roll house. We call it the Serious Moonlight House because there's a big David Bowie mural in it. And of course that was one of his most popular tours that he did. And then we have a chinoiserie room, which I always wanted a chinoiserie room. But what...
For those who don't know what that is.
Yeah, so chinoiserie is like the French at one point got super enamored with, sort of Chinese design and Asian aesthetic. And so there was a sort of hybrid design movement called chinoiserie where it blends like the French and the Asian influences. So anyway, we have a room like that. And then we have a Use Your Illusion trailer, which is all sort of Guns N' Roses-y, but in sort of a abstract sense. There's not like pictures of Axl or anything. There's just like Guns N' Roses motif everywhere.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Growing up, were you always creative, musically inclined?
Yeah, I think I was always creative, and I always loved music. Although I didn't foresee myself being a musician. I don't know why. I never thought that was like a possibility. I started playing flute when I was 7, so I was always a flautist, but I never really saw, I wanted to be in jazz band, and I remember the band leader was like, there's no flutes in jazz or something, so I couldn't be in jazz band, and I just thought, oh, well, there's no way to actually play this besides just playing in my school band or something. I felt limited or something.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was a way you could have a career doing that.
So did you end up in the jazz band in high school?
No, I was not allowed.
So let me tell you a little story about my experience in the jazz band.
Yeah.
So I was also a flute player from like 4th or 5th grade when they introduced all the instruments. And in high school, I was playing the flute and the piccolo. And then the band director came to me and he goes, I need somebody else in the jazz band. I need you to play the trombone. And I was like, that doesn't even make any sense. First of all, the flute's on the treble clef.
Totally different.
The trombone is on the bass clef. It's a totally different, breathing and mouthing. And so I played the trombone in the jazz band just for that one season. But what I did was because it's played by positions as you do the slide, I marked my notes as the position numbers. I never learned to read the bass clef. I just marked the position numbers and I got away with it.
Wow, that's impressive.
Thank you. So being out here, there's a certain amount of, I guess, you can kind of stay in your quiet place, if you will, and be isolated. And do you feel that at all out here? And if so, is that because of where you live? Is that a conscious decision to be isolated?
Yeah, so we do kind of live in the middle of nowhere, which I love because there's no light pollution. You go outside and you can just see stars for miles at night. I feel like you could be isolated out here. I pretty much, as soon as I got here, I was like, I want to find my people. So I went straight to the High Desert Cultural Center. I was like, oh, there's a theater in town? I'm going to go there because I know the theater people are my people. And I started volunteering, working the bar at shows, just trying to, get in the mix and meet my people. And then going to see Brent's bands that I knew out here and going to Pappy and Harrietts and just trying to get in the mix and meet people. Because, if you don't make an effort, it would be really easy to be isolated out here.
Right.
But if you make an effort, wow, it's insane how vibrant the art scene is here. And so.
Well, I think back to an experience we had up at Bobby First's where you were there to see a show.
Yeah.
And I introduced you to Jessica Berryhill, which I'm interviewing for another podcast. And before I know it, like 3 weeks later, you and Jessica and Durr are on stage playing together. So it also, there's a lot of that creative synergy here.
Yeah.
And it just happens really quickly. So that's fun.
Yeah, it's so fun. It's just random how not random at all, you introduced us, but interesting how it works out here where it's just, hey, you're doing that, I'll do that with you. Or, people are open to other people collaborating.
Right, exactly. So I was going to ask, what kind of resources did you use to find your community? But we made a perfect segue, so that's great.
Yeah.
Out on your 15 acres, when you're not working on, building Airbnb rooms and things like that, what are you spending your time doing?
I write a lot. I also write a lot of music, play music. That pretty much takes up all my time, and play with my puppies. I have a little Pomeranian, and I have a sort of, I don't know what he is, a Yorkie Shih Tzu Poodle mix, which he's my miracle baby. When we got him from the shelter, he had survived parvo, so I kind of let him get away with a lot because I was like, you made it, little guy. But now I'm like, I've got to potty train this dog. It's out of control. So we're potty training right now, and it's like so hard to crate train him. I hate seeing him, and it's great, but I know at the end it's going to be worth it.
Well, you're a responsible pet owner.
Yes, exactly.
That's all I have to say about that. That's great. What are some things that you and Greg love to do, or even just you love to do?
Around here, let's see. I mean, we really like being at home. Is that bad?
No,
we love being on our property. I mean, it's just, just sitting outside. And it's funny. One time Greg looked over at me. We were sitting outside on our portico, and he said, I could see how someone could write a book. Because, being out here, I just sit around and think about things. And it's true. I feel like when we lived in Hollywood, there's so much hustle and bustle, and it takes so much energy just to get from point A to point B. There's not a lot of time to reflect or even take in daily experience. And I just do a lot of that here. I'm just sitting around thinking about things.
Right. Well, and it's the environment is very conducive to that.
Yes.
Just the mountains and the stars and the trees, the landscape, the quiet.
Yeah.
That really helps. That's, I think, what has really been great for me is just coming, because I was living downtown LA before I moved here.
No quiet at all.
So I loved, my dream growing up was I'm going to live in Manhattan because I grew up in New Jersey. So I did always want that city experience, and I feel like I've had it. I do like to go back and visit, but the quiet is just awesome.
Yeah, it's funny because when we first moved, it was very unsettling to me, actually, the quiet and the dark. It freaked me out really bad for a while, several months. I had a hard time adjusting. And then, one night Greg came home and it was like midnight and I was out in the yard doing something, and he said, wow, you've really become such a desert woman. Like, look at you. You're out here in the middle of the night. There's no one around, and you're fine.
Right. Yeah. It is a little unnerving because I think it's the quiet.
Yeah.
The quiet and the dark combined. It's like being have you ever been in the ocean at night?
No.
Really frightening.
I can imagine.
When you moved here, were there any things that you came up against that kind of surprised you? Like, whoa, I wasn't expecting this.
There was a couple things. First of all, I guess always having been a city girl, I never, thought about the fact that, maybe if you live in the middle of nowhere, it's really hard to get good internet. Internet here is terrible. The only thing we can get by our house is this sort of radio wave internet, and the fastest speed we can get is 6 megabits upload, which is like so slow, and it costs like $90 a month. Like, yeah, it's like in LA we'd have like 100 megabits for that, but out here that's the best we can do, and it drops out all the time, but it's the best we can do. There's that, and then it's really hard to find a good rosé in this area. I've also noticed, like, not even at the grocery store, they got white Zinfandels for day, but a good rosé is really hard to find. I'm hoping someone opens a really nice wine bar, because
that'd be
I
great.
feel like, even if you wanted to go out and get a really nice glass of wine, you couldn't do it here.
Right. You need to go down to Palm Springs.
Exactly.
And, load up at whatever that wine store is and bring
Total
it all
Wine,
back.
I know.
Exactly. Stock it.
Yeah.
So when you were younger, did you ever imagine you'd be living in the desert?
Oh, no. I was like you. I wanted to be a city girl. I never thought I'd live here. And my sister came to visit me and she goes, whoa, I never saw you living in a place like this. And I'm like, I know, me neither. I don't know what happened.
That's funny.
Yeah.
But you're liking it.
I love it.
Yeah.
I can't imagine going back. I mean, we always talk about that. How could we go back to living right on top of our neighbors? I don't think that we could.
Right. It sounds like you have found what you needed here in this place. And do you think that that's enough to make you stay?
Oh yeah. The only thing that I would consider leaving for would really be my family. They all live in the Pacific Northwest, but I love it here, and Greg loves it here. I definitely think that we'll be here for a long time.
That's cool. Are you listening to any music or reading any books that are really striking you at this time? Watching any TV?
Yeah, I mean, well, of course, Game of Thrones.
Oh, right. You know, I didn't get HBO on my cable, so I'm kind of like, I'm going to have to wait for, hope they get nominated for something for SAG, so I get
the screener. Well, at least that way you can watch it all at once and not have to wait every week. That, and then right now I'm reading this woman's memoir that I love. Her name's Patricia Lockwood, and her memoir is called Priestdaddy. And I don't want to ruin it for anyone out there, but just go buy the book. It's amazing.
Or you can, the library.
Oh yeah, right, yeah.
You can actually go online, search for the book, and they'll send it to your nearest branch for San Bernardino Library. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, I do that all the time, and it's a bad habit because if I see or hear, because I'm a reader. Yeah. I mean, you see, I've got 3 books going right now.
Yeah.
If I hear of something like that, I will immediately go on my account, search it, and put it in my list, and then I end up getting a call from the library, and I've got like 5 books.
Wow.
So it's kind of a bad habit.
Yeah.
I guess there are worse things to be a bad habit.
They know you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And how about any other music that you're listening to right now? Or have you found somebody here in the desert that you're like, wow, they're awesome?
One interesting thing, because the sort of Americana or old-time rock and roll music seems to be played here so much, I've actually been delving into a lot more of that. And so, like, at open mic on Monday, I played an Elvis song, and I've just been trying to just explore all this sort of roots rock that I've never really explored before. So it's fun to get back to the basics, I guess. Right. Learn where rock came from.
Right. Now, you guys just started performing at open mics recently at Pappy and Harrietts, right? Because I've been up there a couple of times for open mics, but I hadn't seen you there. But I have seen on like Facebook and things like that you guys have been up there. How's that been?
It's been fun. So Greg usually has to work, so usually it's just me that goes. And so I performed with Durr once, and then I was like, I need to get up there and do that. But I've never gotten up and like tried to play a song by myself on stage before, ever. And the last time I played an open mic was probably 20 years ago at the Rainbow Room, like so long ago. Anyway, so it was really scary actually for me to get up there for the first time and play. And then luckily they have such great house musicians that'll just join you in. So I wasn't totally alone. They played with me, which was great. I was so scared. That's probably one of the scariest things I've ever done. And now I'm like, now I got the bug. I want to play more.
Right. You can't wait till Monday comes.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
So we know that you played the flute. How did the transition happen from a woodwind instrument to an electric bass?
Yeah, that's a weird one. So, I guess years ago in Hollywood, I wanted to play music. I wanted to be in a band. And no one would be in a band with me because I didn't play any sort of traditional rock instruments. And so, a man who is actually my ex-husband and my ex-bandmate, he challenged me. He was like, one night we were at a bar and John, I'm Only Dancing by David Bowie came on, and he was like, if you can learn this bass line, then I'll play in the band with you. Like, ha, because it's such a hard bass line. Like, he didn't think I could do it. So I sat there with that bass, like, every day with the CD player, like, stopping and starting until I learned that bass line. And he came home one night and I was like, I played the bass line, and he's like, all right, I'll be in a band with you. Wow. And so that's how I learned. And then I just really learned by playing along to like Pixies and Clash records, just playing along to the songs that I liked.
That's amazing. I'm always in awe of people who can just kind of do that by ear.
Well, I did have some musical training, so it wasn't totally just like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing at all. But
right.
Yeah.
But I mean, even still, without music, you're just picking it up. I don't know that I could. The only time that I could do that was marching band, when I had to memorize the music, to play at halftime. But I don't know if I could do it. I think I would be more of a singer, than a instrumentalist.
Yeah.
I do still have my flute, and I have my music in the corner, and every once in a while I pull it out and play some stuff. But yeah, it's nothing that would be going up at the stage at Pappy and Harrietts.
Oh, you never know. You never know.
Well, there is a guy who plays the flute at the saloon on Tuesday open mic.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They get a bunch of people. Like you said, they've got the house musicians that are really good, and that really helps out everybody. But yeah, there's a couple of guys that get on stage there, and there's a guy with a flute that gets up there, and he just jams right along.
Oh, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Have you done the saloon open mic?
I haven't. That was okay. I've been deciding, because I can't go out like every night, so I'm like, maybe next week I won't go to Pappy's and I'll go to the saloon. I wanted to like kind of go see the different open mics in town, because I hear they all have sort of a different vibe. So the saloon is next on my list.
Right. Well, and it's funny you should say that. You can't go out every night, but if you wanted to,
I could.
You could.
That's my problem.
I think a lot of people don't realize. They think, oh, you're out in the desert. What do you do out there?
Oh my gosh.
Well, you can do nothing and sit on your portico and just think.
Yeah.
Or there's plenty of activity going on musically, any kind of creatively, spiritually.
Yeah.
There's bingo. I mean, there's everything.
Yeah. I think this week I have 3 shows that I'm going to, and I could go to more, but I had to be like, I can only do 3 this week because I need to write and stuff.
Exactly, right. And sometimes for me, it's like a budgetary. It's like, okay, I have to kind of choose carefully.
Yeah.
Because, stuff does cost money. It's not all free.
No.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to have you pick a question out of my niece's question jar.
I've been so looking forward to this.
And I'm pretty sure that, I took one question out and then I put another one on the bottom, so I'm sure you're not going to get the same ones that the last 3 people I interviewed have gotten. So don't dig down too far.
Okay, got it. All right. I feel this is my question. All right.
Okay, good. Looks like a big one.
All right, should I read it?
Yes, please.
What are some ways to deal with the stress of high school and college to live our lives as great as we can? Oh, that's a good one. Well, I would say some great ways to deal with stress. Writing is really helpful. I recommend journaling to everyone, and the earlier you start, the better, because it's super fun to go back, 20 years later and look at what you were thinking 20 years ago. But journaling is so important because it gets a lot of the stressful things that are in your head out onto the page so that your head can be clear. So I really recommend that. Of course, meditation, even if it's just for 5 or 10 minutes once a day, if that's all you have time to do, doing some is better than doing none. And it will make a difference in how you see things and how you feel stress over time. Those are probably my 2 top. And then exercise. Moving your body, even if it's not traditional exercise, but just getting out and even going for a walk or something is so important. It really changes your mood and makes everything feel not as important, and you can just sort of enjoy life in a way because you don't have all that stress hanging around because you feel so good because you went out and exercised. So those are my top 3 ways to live your life as great as you can and deal with stress.
Thank you.
That's a good question.
It is a good question. I know these, I think she's 17 now. She's
wow.
driving, and she's interviewing at some colleges.
I think too with college especially, you can get stressed out thinking about all the things you have to do, and if you just put one foot in front of the other and just do the thing you have to do right now and not think of forward too much, that helps too.
Well, and that's a good point. It kind of goes to just being present.
Yeah.
In this moment right now, and appreciating that and enjoying that and not skipping far ahead.
Yeah.
And not appreciating what's right in front of you right now.
Exactly. Yeah. Wow. So. If she can learn that now.
Right. That's what I say. If I knew
oh my gosh.
then what I know now, life would be different. But hindsight's always 20/20.
Right.
Now last, for people who hung around, super special surprise. You brought a track.
Yes.
From the Ultraviolet Rays that we're going to play at the end of this podcast. So, and did you say that has not yet been released?
Nope, we've never officially released it, so
okay, cool.
You're hearing it first.
You're hearing it first here, breaking music on the Desert Lady Diaries podcast. Well, I am so grateful for you taking the time to come and do this. I really appreciate it. So thank you. I'm
Thanks
glad
for
to know
having
you.
me. Yeah, you too.
Thanks so much for listening to the Desert Lady Diaries podcast. There are a lot of ways you could spend your time, so thanks for spending it here. I hope you got some insight and inspiration, and if you did, I hope you'll share it with me and the other listeners on the Desert Lady Diaries Facebook page. If there was something you wanted to follow up on in this episode, likely I captured it in the show notes, which you can find on the blog page on the website or in the show notes if you're a podcast downloader. Next week, I'm talking to Jessica Berryhill, a drummer and Marine's daughter. Born in the desert town of 29 Palms, California, the family left for Ventura when she was 2, but thanks to her mother and a musical acquaintance, she's come back to the desert and is making her musical dream come true. I hope you'll join us then. And now you better be ready to rock with the Ultraviolet Rays.